Hey guys, how's it going? This is a private one-on-one session with Douglas. I'm gonna go ahead and set up this room real quick, and then I'm gonna send him the link, and then you guys can sit in and listen if you'd like. I'm not really taking questions from the outside public, so you guys just want to sit in and listen to his questions here. He has a list of questions, so they might be something that may apply to something that you might be curious about as well. So it's gonna be a few moments to set this up, and then I'm going to send him the link so that he can hop on to this session with us. All right. All right, cool. Let me get this link sent out to him real quick, and we will get started shortly. All right, looks like he's joining now. Let's get a few moments, and we should be good. All right. Hey, Douglas, how's it going? Can you hear me? I think you're muted. Let me make you a co-host so that you can unmute yourself. All right, cool. I think you're good.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, Douglas, how's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Great, great. I'm doing awesome. All right, so let's see. I think you sent me a list of questions, right? So let me see.
Yep. You hear me clear?
Yeah, hear you loud and clear, so you're good to go. All right, cool. So we got a couple of questions over here. If there's anything else that you want to cover, feel free to add that on. But if you want to just go down the list, we can start off with that if you'd like.
Sure, no problem. I did make a few more, but as we go into the conversation, I can always go for them.
Yeah, no, definitely. Sounds good. Okay, so for your first question over here, you're asking, how do you mark up charts for news, horizontal lines and vertical lines? Where do you place these lines at tops or bottoms of bars? Yeah, so what I do with the news, let me show you an example for today. So we had news earlier this morning at, I
Yeah.
believe, let's see, 6:45 and 7 o'clock, right? So what I typically do is I'll go over to that time. I'll clean up the chart here a little bit so we have a clean chart to look at. So 6:45 is going to be the first one over here. What I do is I mark up a horizontal line at the opening of that candle so that you can identify how did price react to that news event. So for example, right here at 6:45, this is the candle for news. What I'll do here is I'll use the horizontal line tool so it goes across the entire chart. And then I will use the magnet tool here to make sure that I get exactly at the open of the candle. So I
Gotcha.
go from the open of the body, not the wick, just the open of the body. If it's a red candle, obviously from the top, because that's where the candle opens from. If it's a green candle, we'll go from the bottom.
Okay.
So for this one right
Yeah.
here, Exactly. And then this is news from 6:45, and then you can see later on in the session, price rejects, directly off this news price. So it's very key that you mark it up so that you know not to trade around those areas. Because obviously, if you take a buy here, you can get caught in a really bad position if it rejects directly off it.
Right. Okay. And so the vertical lines, what are they for?
So the vertical lines, I think you might be talking about are you talking about news price or the momentum signals?
Well, I think it's the news I'm looking at right now. It's the news that I was just wondering how and where you place the lines.
Yeah, no, definitely. So the market opened over here at about like 6:30, right? Typically around 6:30, we're gonna like identify where all the upcoming news is. So generally, we're not gonna have anything on the chart yet. So it's around 6:30. We look at the news over here. 6:45 and 7 is later in time. I put vertical lines here just to identify where the news is. So like I know that news is coming up around that time. So like pre-market, I look at news at 6:45. I'll use like a red line over here so that it can kind of stand out to me so I don't take trades around those points. And I'll just place them where the news is going to be released. I don't necessarily leave them there, but I leave it there until news actually happens. So when price gets to that point, like say 6:45, the one that we just marked up, as soon as we get to this point, I'm like, okay, news is right there. So I know exactly which candle to mark up. I'll go get my horizontal line tool, magnet tool, draw my line, and then I delete this and we have a clean chart from there.
Great. Okay. So then these lines, do they remain for the next day or do you take them off after the day's ended?
I take them off after the live. So basically, we're at the end of the day. So when the new day starts, London Open, I will delete them and then I'll do everything fresh the next day. I've seen other people leave them on. So I mean, it's really up to preference. I think for myself, I don't like leaving them on because I don't find them to be as relevant as they were the prior day. So for me personally, I don't leave them on. I've seen other people who leave opening price on for the previous day, and it does come back and test. So it is useful, but I think for me personally, I don't think it's very necessary because you're going to have new market structure and, price is going to test that area. So at that point, like 24 hours later, it's going to be less and less relevant because there'll be new news prices around that time period.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay, cool. So let's see. I think that was it for that part of that question. Moving on to the next question, you're asking, how do you follow all news events? Do you follow all news events or just high impact? So I follow all news events, whether it's light impact, high impact, medium impact, because the problem with the news sometimes is that you'll look on Forex Factory and then it'll be light news, right? It'll be a yellow folder. And then you look over at my FX book and it's like a high impact, right? So it just depends on the news source if they determine it to be high or low. I don't necessarily weigh them, from strong or low or medium. I just mark them up so that whenever I see price on the chart, that still is going to be considered some sort of structure for me. So whether it's low, medium, high, I still mark it up. I don't necessarily ignore it if it's light impact. But the only ones I follow would be US. So I wouldn't follow Euro and I wouldn't follow like the Asia or Australia news.
Got you.
All right, so let's see. Next question right here is how many points, pips do you target for TP? Should we capping our upside? So it just depends on your strategy. For my scalping strategy, I like to get in and out of the positions very quickly because typically another entry will come up right after it. So I typically have a set TP stop loss. This TP and stop loss is set from a lot of back testing. I've back tested this years and years behind, and I've forward tested it live during these live sessions for about 3 to 5 years now. So for me, I know exactly what is the ideal price point to exit and the ideal stop loss to have, because typically that'll give you enough cushion to withstand any drawdown and still make your way into profit. So I cap mine. You don't necessarily have to cap yours. I mean, there's other ways to apply it. Like, for example, I can show you, for example, here for like an entry like this, if you were to get a sell signal like this right here, I know this isn't an entry here, but I'm just going to show you this as an example. One way to do it is to just have a fixed TP stop loss, right? Which I use. I use a 100 pip TP, 300 pip stop loss. This is just because I don't expect to lose this trade. I just want to have enough cushion here in case price does retrace to be within the trade. But I expect price to come down and hit my TP. Another way to apply this here is target price points would be like where these high lows are. So basically these high lows, This is where you can technically go for a bigger push if you really wanted to. I don't necessarily like to take that risk because I like to get in and out of the position. But for me personally, I already have an idea that price is going to get to this point. The reason why I know price is going to get to this point here is because I'm trading against everybody else, right? If you look at the market over here, right before we got to this point, price is bullish, right? So if someone is entering a buy entry here, everyone places their stop loss at the swing low. So I'm basically outsmarting the market. I'm not outsmarting the market, but I'm outsmarting the retail trader because I know what retail traders do. And that's why, for example, over here, you can see how price is coming down. I have my sell signal.
Right.
I have an idea that price is going to reach at least this price point if you wanted to go for a bigger entry. So, there's different ways to apply it. This is all from my own personal knowledge. So like looking at price here, price goes exactly there, right? So it's just me kind of like, it's like playing chess. I'm kind of anticipating what the next move is going to be, looking back at like where everyone else entered. So if I saw people entering buys here, then my idea is that, okay, if the market makers want to stop these people out, where's their stop losses sitting? It's right here.
Take price the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's different ways to do it. For me personally, I have a set TP stop loss. It's up to you how you want to apply it. But from my experience, I've been trading live for like years now, and this set TP stop loss is good enough for me because typically if I enter this trade here, yeah, sure, I'll get out, a little smaller than what I'd have if I took the fuller position. But generally, if you continue on further, there's going to be more entries, right? Another one right there. So I could take one TP there, one TP there. I like to be on the safer side. Like I want to be in and out to avoid getting caught in manipulation in market price. Because manipulation happens all the time. You'll be in profit, 10 seconds later, spike the other direction, and then you would have regretted it. You've been like, okay,
I know that.
Yeah. And I've known it for years now. So that's why for me, I know how the market moves and I know my personality. So for me, I'd rather have small wins here and there rather than going for those big wins, but then having continuous losses where it just, it attacks your ego because you're not sure.
Indeed, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's the saying? It's better to be out wishing that you were in than to be in wishing you were out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. That's the worst feeling. You're in the position and then you had your opportunity to get out, but you didn't. And then now you regret it so much and you're deep in drawdown,
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see. I think that's it for that question right there. You have another question here, number 4. Is there any way to know if price is going to continue up or down after retracement? Yeah. So typically if I have a big candle, like something, let me see if I could find okay, so like maybe this one right here, the one that just passed. Not that this is an entry here, but if it was an entry, typically if you have a big candle, that's like an outlier, right? So like, for example, these candles over here are very, they're not very small, but they're a lot smaller compared to this one, right? So these are like maybe about 100 pips each candle. They're about 100 pips each. And then you have this huge candle over here that is like 600 pips. So when you have a big candle like this, things to pay attention to would be the midway of the candle right here or the full candle. So basically what you're looking for is to confirm whether the price is going to retrace, like you mentioned, if it's going to retrace up further and reverse, or if it's going to bounce back down from one of these points. So whenever I see a big candle like this and I'm looking for a sell, I'm not going to enter right away. I'm going to wait first because I'm waiting for that retrace. Exactly, the pullback. So like I wait for the pullback here. You can see it pulls back to this area. Now I'm looking for the confirmation. I'm looking for it to come back down. Right here, it hasn't come back down, right? So at this point, I'm like, okay, it's probably not going to come down from this point. Next area is going to be the full candle. So next for it to go back up higher. Right there, it tests the full candle. Now I'm looking for the confirmation at this point. This is where it gets kind of tricky because when you get stuck in an area like this is where you don't know where price is going, right? Because now it's consolidating. So this is why it's important that I use multiple time frames. So for example, this right here, we have a sell bias. This is at about 7:10 a.m. I go over here on the multiple charts. And I pretty much look to see how price is going from that point. So like this is about, let me see. Yeah, 7:10 a.m. That wouldn't be an entry. So I wouldn't think to take an entry at that point. But let me just show you the biases that I use here just to confirm. So we have a sell bias here on the 1 minute, 5 minute over here, 7. 10, sell bias again right here. And then again here on the 10-minute, 710 right here. Yeah, so you can see from these different candles over here, it's a little like uncertain, right? Because on the 5-minute, you can see it's bearish. Right here, it's also bearish, but you see the big green candle. And then here on the 1-minute, this is also pushing up. So you have two different, I mean, you have multiple directions here. So if I see something like this, then I'm not really going to look to take a trade. If I see everything for a sell, then at this point, I'm like, okay, if I get a confirmation of a sell at this point, then yeah, maybe I'll look for the correction back to the downside. And then if I was to take something like that, if I was to take something like this, instead of entering right away, say, for example, your entry was this big candle, right? So you're waiting for the retracement. What I would do is I'd have like a sell stop here.
Okay.
Just waiting at this point so that when price does come down, it'll automatically fill, and then you'll go back into the order that you were planning on getting into. This way, you're not greedy. So for example, if you enter up here, yeah, of course, you're going to get better entry. But what if this reverses on you? Then you're screwed, right?
Yeah.
You're going to go right opposite of you. So for example, here, price doesn't actually come back down. It goes up. So it never fills your order. So you're just pending order right here, waiting for it to come back down. And then eventually it goes up. So now you've confirmed that, okay, it's not going to come back down. It's actually going to go opposite.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's really just waiting for the confirmation, right? I know a lot of people, they get greedy because they see price up here and okay, I'll get a better entry at this point. And then at that point, it's like, okay, I should have just avoided the trade. For me, I'm good with my discipline. So if I know my entry is down here, I'm not going to get in for a discount. I'm going to get in down here. I'm going to wait for it to come back down to confirm. And that's how I personally do it.
No, you're good at that discipline, man. That Thursday, oh man, I sat through that hour and a half with you there, waiting. Nothing came. That's the first time I did that, Sean. I never ever did. I always click with that open. I always click something.
Yeah, no, definitely. You have to wait for that confirmation because the market has been a bit tricky. Well, it's typically like this at the end of the year because usually the market is bullish by now. I mean, it's getting there, but it's not necessarily there yet. I think for the next couple of days, it might drop a little bit. Towards the end of the year, it usually closes bullish. So if it continues to drop bearish for like the next couple of weeks, I think towards the middle of December, it's going to start to just shoot up continuously. And it's like that. It's historically like that because I've been trading US 30 every day for years now. So I've noticed it year after year. Every year around like mid-December, it's going to go bullish. So I'm just waiting for that to swing up. And then from there, it's going to work in conjunction with our entries and our strategies because we're also looking at the multiple time frames. So it's not like we're just taking buys here and there, we're making sure. Yeah. So let me see if I think that was your last question, right? Is there anything else here that you wanted to ask?
Well, the thing is that I'm struggling. Honestly, I'm struggling with winning trades, losing trades, and just basically FOMO. And I guess that comes because I don't have a proper strategy in place, and I'm not sticking to one thing. I'm always searching for something else because this is not working. So I'm looking for something else. I'm not giving the system enough time to test. So those are some of the things that I'm finding myself, struggling with. As I said, it's only been a year, so I guess I shouldn't be complaining because there are people in the market longer than me that still is not profitable. So I shouldn't really
Yeah, exactly. The problem with most people is that a lot of people are just self-sabotaging, right? If like you mentioned, they're always switching from strategy to strategy because they don't see it full enough. They don't see it through to like actually see the results. The problem with a lot of people too is that they apply strategies that are seasonal strategies. That's why for me personally, I trade directly off momentum and trend because if there's momentum and trend, there's going to be trades available, right? You just have to wait for the right time to trade. Well, people who trade patterns is like typically it'll be seasonal. So like you'll see a lot of those good entries in the spring and in the fall because that's when the market's moving quickly. When you go into the winter and the summer, market is slow. Winter is vacation time, right? A lot of people aren't trading, volatility is very low. Same with the summer, people go on vacation and the market is just very slow. So for me personally, I think you'd fall in line with a lot of my strategies, specifically these that I apply in the live session, because they work all year round. Sometimes you're going to get less entries than other, but you're going to get entries, there's going to be entries at least a couple a week, even if it's during like the slowest time of the market. It's just really waiting for everything to align so that, like,
Indeed.
for example here, so we have a strong sell bias, right? You can take a sell at any moment if your stop loss is wide enough to just withstand whatever drawdown it goes through. Eventually, you're going to hit your profit target, right? Like, for example, if you just follow this here and say you entered like a like accidental trade, it's going to pull up a little bit, but eventually, if you could hold on to it for long enough, eventually it's going to come back down.
Yeah.
Because you already have the overall direction. You know that price is going to come down because it's easy for the 1 minute to retrace, but for the 5 minute and 10 minute to also retrace, it's going to take a lot of time. So it's going to come back down at some point.
Okay, so like today when we were waiting, we were going to be short the market today when it
Yes.
opened, because I think 68% of market sentiment was bullish.
It
Or
was
no,
actually,
sorry, it was bearish. Yeah, it
yeah.
was bearish. Sorry. So, but still, we were looking for sell entries.
Mhm.
Is that contradicting what we're supposed to be looking for? I
Yeah.
mean, because
Yeah, so for the retail sentiment, that shows what long-term direction is. So like how I was saying earlier, towards the middle of December, price is going to end up shifting up. So eventually it's going to shift up in the long term. But since we're trading on the short term on the 1 minute, we don't really care what happens long term, right? We only care what happens 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour from now. That's why we go only max 10 minute time frame. If we
I
look,
got you.
if we're going on the 4 hour, this is pointless for us, right? Because this is bullish, or it was bullish. And if we're looking on the 4 hour, everything's bearish. We're not going to avoid trades just because, 4 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours from now, prices.
Indeed. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. So retail sentiment is meant for long-term direction. That's just used as a final confluence. So like, say, for example, everything is bullish on the shorter time frames. And then you also have retail sentiment, which is like 70% short. Then you're going to feel very confident about taking buys because you know that the market makers, institutions are looking to buy, and then the short term you're also looking to buy. So you're
Right.
pretty much riding the wave with them.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that, and then also the fundamentals. Fundamentals are like medium. So like the way that I identify things is technicals will be on the lower, quicker direction and movement. Fundamentals will be medium because that can shift too. It doesn't shift as much, but it'll shift here and there. But the retail sentiment, it doesn't change very often. If you look at retail sentiment, it's been bearish for a long time now. I think what they're doing here, the market makers, institutions, they're looking to stack up more sellers because the more retail traders that are on the sell side, when they finally spike price up, they're going to stop everybody out, right? Once they stop everybody out, that's where they make their big payday. So they just stop everybody out, take their position, liquidate everybody. And then now they basically flipped everybody from, their self positions to the buy. And then now they have their liquidity to just ride their position further. So it's all like logical, right? It's kind of just, it's like playing, it's a game of strategy, basically understanding, when to flip your position or when to like hold it. A lot of people here are stubborn, right? If you're in a sell position,
indeed.
Yeah, if you're in a sell position and you're very deep in drawdown, you're just going to say, okay, I'll hold on for like another day, another 2 days, another 3 days. At that point, your account's just draining until it goes to zero.
It's gone, man.
Yeah. And that's why I like scalping too, because at least I know I'm going to win or lose right away. Even if even if it's a bad trade or it's an unlucky trade, at least I know I'm going to lose. And I know how much I'm losing. I'm not risking my entire account on like one trade. I'm going to hold on forever.
It makes sense. I mean, because you're trading 5 or 6 accounts, right, at one time. So, I mean, 10 points in your favor, that's multiplied by 5 or 6, that's 50, 60 points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's basically taking like a big position, but with it's basically how like the hedge funds trade, right? Like, the actual day traders who trade in the, within the exchange. That's exactly what they're doing. I'm trading maybe, 10 lots equivalent to like what they're trading, maybe 100 times what I'm trading. So I'm just doing it on a smaller scale, but I'm doing the same thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, cool, man.
Yeah, so let's see. Is there any other questions that you have or anything that you're curious about? I mean, I'm here to help you. So like whatever you need help with.
When I started this trading last year, about a year now, I always heard about mentor and you need to find a mentor. And I was like, how do I find a mentor? Where do I look? Where do I start? And a year now into the trading, I found you. And now it's like, what do I say now? What do I ask? Because, I've been through hell, Sean, hell and back, man. I've been, account after account losing. But Yeah, it's frustrating. It gets frustrating after time, and you try to you second guess yourself. You ask yourself if this is really what you want to do, and is it making sense? Will it turn around? But I mean, I'm in it right now, and I'm gonna be in it for years to come.
Hmm.
So I know I'm gonna eventually make this happen. So I just gotta make sure that I'm following the right people like yourself and listening keenly and continue to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the hard part about starting, right? Because I've been trading for like about 12 years now. I've been on and off for 12 years. I've been trading seriously for maybe about 8 years. I've been trading full time for about 5 years. So when you learn on your own and you don't have a mentor, like you mentioned, like I've never had a mentor. So I learned everything through YouTube, Google, forum, stuff like that. You find a lot of bad information, right? So you'll find a lot
Yeah.
of strategies, and that's how you are. You're bouncing from strategy to strategy because you don't have someone to learn from directly, like myself. Now that you have me to learn from, you can just ask me questions directly. You're not really digging through YouTube videos, Google searches. No, what strategy is this? What do I need to add? Because the thing is, I've been through all of that. So like whenever you have an issue with whatever strategy you're applying, whether it's my strategy or your own, I can kind of point you to like what you need, because realistically, when you trade, there's only like so many things that you can use, right? I said the problem I see with a lot of people is they use a lot of the same things and they contradict each other. So they use like different indicators for trend, and then one thing's telling them one while the other one's telling them the other.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. Like I see people use RSI and MACD together. Those are both like they're like indicators that identify the same thing, and but also different. Like they're not always going to be aligned with each other.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why for me I had to create my own indicators, because I used to use those indicators as well. I use moving averages, RSI, MACD, stochastics, and those things don't work very well standalone. You have to like mix them with something else, and that's why I kind of created my own indicators that are similar to those, but they're a lot more efficient because they don't give you I guess like fake
Signals.
yeah,
Yeah.
fake signals and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, but no, I'm glad that you found me. I don't even know, how did you find me? I'm just curious.
Honestly, man, I've been on this internet for the longest while, and I've just been looking at video after video, and I found you last week Tuesday. It was last week Tuesday I found you, and then that same day I found you. I think I mentioned to you. I made a couple of points, just following what you were doing,
Mhm.
and since then I've subscribed and been following you every day since then. But
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
it seems like everyone who finds me just finds me randomly. Like it's always random. It's either they were on YouTube or on Facebook or Instagram, and I don't know, they don't even remember how they found me, but now here they
yeah,
are.
I my Instagram account, I shut it down, but after you have a link on it, I decided to pick it back up, and I'm there again right now just because you send these signals. I just need to know what you're up to, what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And it's good that you found like a community, right? Because it gets lonely if you're trading by yourself and you don't have people to share your trades with, whether they're good or bad.
Indeed.
And the good thing here is that now that you're in the group, like when you start to make profits and show profits, you can share them with the group, and it kind of brings the morale up. It's not just free, it's not showing off. It's more so just being accountable, right? Because a lot of people will show good things, but they don't show the bad things.
Yeah,
But this will keep you in check. So you'll see other people doing well. It'll show you that, it's not the end of the world. You probably just made a mistake here and there, and you're going to bounce back from it.
definitely, man, definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So if there's any other questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know what else.
I'm good for now, Sean. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I want to say thanks again for
Mhm.
taking your time out. I know you're busy, and but we'll keep in touch on the Telegram.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So I'll see you on the live session tomorrow, and we'll pick back up then.
Cheers, man.
All right, great.